Alright guys, guess what I have here? We got content. We got the pet. We got them snacks. And we also got ourselves them crowns. And today, we are actually going to be training a very specific pet that I've been wanting to have for quite some time, but unfortunately double pet XP wasn't a thing during the time, so I didn't really want to work on specific pets. But now that's double pet XP, and also with the help of my friend Garrett. Now this is not the character that he has the pet on, but he is the friend that decided to help me out with this pet, so I'd like to say thank you so much, Garrett, for helping me out making this pet. It's greatly and will always be appreciated. As you guys know, the meta is mainly towards fire and also towards ice, so essentially what went in my mind is, what if I was to make a pet that sets for probably the two top schools as of right now, and maybe we'll get a pretty good significant difference in terms of getting better matchups, since more than likely I'm going to be going against an ice or a fire. Now I'm hopefully able to also maybe make a weather quarry pet out of this. That might be pretty difficult to do, but you know, honestly, just to have infal is just fine. I'm actually pretty great with infal. I actually really like infal a lot. And honestly, all I'm saying is, you know, to all these fire and ices out there, you're not gonna like me once you see me in the arena. Like, you know, I have quite a bit of health already. It's on the Rude Goblin pet, so that's like an extra 3 resistance. It's pretty insane as to the possibilities of what exactly it is I can essentially do in the PvP arenas. The last time I made this video, you guys really love the pet training video, so I decided to do another one for you guys, but I also wanted to do it during a time where this might be a lot faster to do, and double pet XP is definitely one of those days where doing videos like this are a lot faster to do, and it's a little bit more efficient as well. Just getting the stats I need shouldn't really take too long. That's kind of one of my hopes here. I kind of doubt that's going to be the case. I'm fairly certain that more than likely we're probably going to be having some issues with, you know, some fails right then and there, because this pet is just filled with quite a bit of fails. Every pet has some sort of fail. Most of them are better than others. That's just kind of how it is, because you're going for very specific talents. I think these are probably the hardest pets to make, is going for very specific ones, because obviously there's just so much room for failure. Even though it doesn't necessarily look bad on the pet, it definitely isn't good, at least in my standards of what I'm going for. So that's kind of what I'm afraid of. And so far though, this one's actually doing pretty well. It's got to adult, it's got fire ward, and I believe it was myth dealer. Yeah, so that's pretty solid. Maybe get like an ice ward or an infal. That'll be pretty fantastic. Hopefully we can at least get an adult base here coming in very soon without having to do another hatch with ancient to ancient, because this is usually the time where the fails become a lot more noticeable, and this is also the time where the fails cost a lot more. Not just snacks, but also your energy. Not just your energy, but also your crowns. And it's pretty unfortunate, but you know what? It is what it is. Or, oh wow, fire dealer. Yeah, that's the other fail. Wow. that's fantastic. Wow, it failed again with fire dealer. Yeah, fire dealer is gonna definitely be that one talent that's gonna be super sticky, I'm pretty sure. And obviously it's not a surprise, because it comes from a Rude Goblin pet. You kind of expect these fails to kind of happen now and then. It is what it is. There's really not much I can do about the situation. But other than that though, you know, I also wanted to talk about a little bit of the roundtable as well. For those who don't know, Blake PvP did a PvP roundtable with KI. For those who don't know, the roundtable is essentially a discussion between us in the community and developers, in order to talk about certain things that are going to probably happen in Wiz, and also pretty much like in ways feedback for Wiz. And the roundtable is probably the second time I believe that they've done like a roundtable, and this time it's with a very popular PvP streamer named Blake PvP. If you haven't checked him out, definitely check him out on Twitch. He's actually a really good content creator, and honestly, you know, it was really good. Like, Blake really knew how to ask his questions because he has lots of experience with PvP. So obviously he kind of already knew what he was going to ask, because it's one thing for a developer to kind of just take feedback from majority of players, but to have that close connection with a person within the community who knows a lot about PvP is actually a really good thing, because by then they'll be a little bit more in the know in the terms of exactly what the community really wants. And a lot of people really like Blake PvP as well, not as just a content creator but also as a PvPer, so he was pretty much the perfect guy for the job. And honestly, I think the roundtable was amazing. I think he definitely asked a lot of questions that definitely needed to be answered. There were some questions that I did have in my mind that I wanted to ask specifically, and I wish either the community or Blake mentioned it himself. But oh wow. Okay, so it's definitely okay, so that fell is definitely not Mythgiver. It's a selfish talent. Okay, that's actually good to know. So like I said before, there were questions that I kind of wanted to be answered, and I wanted to kind of make like an analysis video on the roundtable, but honestly, I was kind of doing some side things while also listening to the roundtable, like setting up for the Pyro101 stream once the roundtable was over, and also, you know, trying to fix the overlays, because eventually I'm going to be using those overlays for both YouTube and Twitch. And I was kind of basically being a little bit busy, so I did catch most of it. I was putting most of my attention to the roundtable, but I also want to make sure that I listen to it again so I don't miss a few things, and then we can probably go, you know, I'll make a video on the roundtable, my thoughts and maybe suggestions that I might have for PvP, and we could probably make a discussion about it. Despite the fact that, you know, there's still some questionable things that KI tends to do in terms of PvP updates and PvP fixing, for the most part, I do think that they're doing a pretty good job, and they're doing the best they can to make PvP as fun as possible for everyone, while still keeping the competitiveness in PvP. And the fun with PvP obviously is, you know, with the old system, being able to predict your opponent's moves and everything, even though first has such a major advantage, they still make it to where you have to predict a little bit further beyond a specific round, which I do like that. You know, you're trying to predict a person's setup, you're trying to predict a person's, you know, strategy. And with turn-based, you have time to think about that strategy, but you also need to have time to prepare for your own strategy. And it's really nice. Like, and with the hand manipulation as well, you know, you could definitely use that as a strategy in order to, you know, pick cards first before your opponent, so that your opponent doesn't necessarily have time to think. And usually the opponents that will tend to have those drawbacks are the opponents who tend to have bad hands. So maybe by then they'll consider fixing their hands in order to be able to find mostly, if not everything that they need right then and there, and be using speed to their advantage. And it's really neat. I at first was not a fan of the, you know, hand manipulation, because of how the time is going to be dependent on the player's reaction speed. And for a lot of people, you know, not necessarily a lot of people, but for a good portion of people, I'm very certain that they don't have good PCs. So being able to discard and draw your cards at a very, you know, decent frame is very important, and not everyone has access to that sort of technology. Basically, you know, saying that their laptop sucks or their computer sucks. And it's unfortunate, but I kind of do understand where they're coming from in terms of that hand manipulation and being able to use speed to your advantage. And again, this pet got Fire Dealer once again, and it's very unfortunate, but we'll just do another hatch. Maybe one day we'll get a really good epic to epic base so that we can finally finish this. There were many things that they actually mentioned within the stream, like, for example, they were actually planning to have Shrike to be 0 resistance as a drawback instead of the healing drawback, because let's be honest, the healing drawback isn't necessarily as major as people make it out to be for the most part. So like having a 0 resistance as a drawback might be a lot better for PvP, because now you're forced to play offensive when you're in strike. Now you can still play somewhat defensive when in strike technically, but you are risking the fact that during strike you have no resistance, so you're open to pretty much any hit. The only thing that can save you at that point is shields, and shields can only go through so much. If you were to have a tower shield, that's like 55%, so essentially a strike right there with a little bit of pierce on your end, or maybe even a pierce enchanted card with your regular pierce, because generally you'll have like around 30 pierce or a little bit more. So, you know, there's a risk factor to playing strike a little bit more than what it is usually. And one of the things that they change with strike already as of right now is the idea of not being able to double reduce your backlash, and that's also a really good move, because then you have to play a little bit more cautiously when you're in strike, or else you're just risking yourself of getting, well, for the lack of a better term, a lot of damage within you. Not even Flex Seal can save you from it. And I've seen a lot of people who definitely were trying to use strike and acted like if it was the same like before, and it definitely does put a drawback on them, because by then they take loads of damage, not necessarily through your opponent but through the backlash, which just allows the opponents to play a lot more aggressively against you and more than likely can win the match. So, you know, there are some fixes that they're doing as of right now that are pretty much decent in terms of strike, and obviously there still needs to be a little bit more. Like, in my opinion, I feel like you shouldn't be able to use Shadow Pips within strike, but maybe I'll hold off my tongue to that, because maybe the 0 resistance on strike may cause a little bit of a drawback to those who like to spam strike, but then at the same time it might also invite players who'd like to do glass cannon. And these are just things that I will be talking about personally a little bit more in depth on, and looks like we got finally a good base. So we're going to train another pet and see if we can get another good base. But as I was saying before, these could probably be things that could be fixed with a 0 resistance, because, you know, obviously you'll have nothing to protect yourself but shields. But at the same time, this can also invite glass cannons, and maybe glass cannons might be good. It's still something that remains to be seen, and we definitely have to see the test realm updates in order to see as if that's going to be a thing that exists. Like I said before, however, this is going to be something that I'll be talking a little bit more in depth on once I actually make the video on the PvP roundtable. Like, somewhat of like my review on the PvP roundtable and my thoughts, my opinions. Because, don't get me wrong, I don't think I'm the best person to speak about PvP, because personally, I don't think I'm that good in PvP myself. But at the same time, I do have some sort of experience, and I feel like everyone has some sort of right in order to speak on their opinions on PvP and just have discussion with everyone else. And that's kind of my whole point in making that video, or planning to make the video about the PvP roundtable. So I'm honestly really excited to see what happens sometime in the future. And this pet did fail with a balance ward. Now don't get me wrong, balance ward, it really isn't that bad. Who knows, maybe balance might actually get good. But for right now, no, I don't really need this pet. I need a hatch with a different pet. This one got balance ward. I'm not gonna lie, I might keep it because it's really not that bad. Don't get me wrong, balance is not that great in PvP as of right now. But what if they do get good? Then balance ward might actually be something very useful, and it might be something I might want to consider using on my Myth Wizard and Legendary, because, you know, balance wizards tend to like to use supernovas when your pet does a Maycast, so it's just something that I may want to consider. So I'm definitely keeping it for now. And it's unfortunate it did fail right then and there, but we're going to be doing a couple more hatches, and hopefully we do get a successful pet sometime in the future. So we've gotten ourselves a lot of continuous fails, a lot of continuous snack usage, and we still haven't got the pet that we're looking for all the way at Mega. And here we go again. Another fail. This is fun. This is a lot of fun, let me tell you. Alright, the moment of truth is almost upon us. It's been quite a long journey. It's been exactly an hour and a half about now. So yeah, that's how long it's been taking me to train this pet. It looks like I don't even need another energy elixir. This will be the one. So I'm gonna close my eyes. Wait, I should probably cover the screen. I'm gonna cover the screen. Okay. I'm gonna close. I'm gonna finish. And now, the moment of truth. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, it's not even that bad. But it's not what I'm going for. That's the only problem. It's just not what I'm going for here. It's really not that bad though. Because now I have a pet that can potentially get double damage, spell proof, a ward for ice, if I want to set for ice, and myth dealer with make cast info. It's not that bad. But it's just not what I'm going for. And that's a very disappointing part. We'll keep it though. We'll keep it. Lady Dexter, you kind of saved yourself a little bit. Not really, but it's fine. It's fine. We are at the 2,000 mark of the crowns. In terms of gold, we are actually in the 300k mark, which I'm glad that we're not at the very low end of gold. But at the same time, this is literally our last batch of gold that we can possibly get without having to sell a bunch of other stuff that we probably didn't need to sell in the first place. So it's a big gamble here. This is basically my last shot to get the perfect pet that I need. And honestly, I've never seen a pet fail so much. Maybe this is just a double pet XP curse. Maybe that's the plan King Sao has. It's like, you know, they just want us to spend a lot of money on crowns. And by doing so, they just make every pet fail. It's likely their plan. I'm not 100% sure. Okay. Okay. So far, this pet looks good. This is the stats we have right now. We got all the resistances we need. And we also have Myth Dealer. It's fantastic. Now all we need is info. And we will be focusing. We will imagine that this pet will get info. To get a successful pet, one must become the successful pet. It's just the words of wisdom of Frenzy. And we want this pet to get info. We must imagine the info. We must imagine the pet doing its dance. And then, you know, casting the nice green aura. And hopefully, this pet will get info. That's what we're praying for. That's exactly what we're shooting for. We're shooting for a pet that will get info. And hopefully this is the last one that I have to make. Because I'm tired. Tired. I'm done. I just want to get this over with. It's been an hour and 35 minutes now. We have imagined it as it was foretold in the prophecy. And now we must commence the results. Oh, my wonderful friends, it has been a wonderful time to be with all of you, but now I must bid you adieu. Finally, we have finally gotten the pet that we have been long and waiting for. I'm gonna crash. I already did. It's all good. But now, finally, after so many hatches, after so much crowns, we have finally gotten what we've been looking for. A pet with spell proof, fire ward, ice ward, myth dealer, make has info, and we will be socketing this with a make has brace. The Kroger Jewel, obviously. And I have to say, this pet took forever to make. I'm not gonna lie. And I think, as of right now, I think I'm done with training pets. And don't even get me started on the gold. Like, that was just like an insane and other story for another day. However, guys, I'm gonna leave it here. Hopefully that you did enjoy today's video. If you liked it, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't, and as always, remember to stay frenzy. Peace.